Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Janine with Symphony Reads. Visit us on our website, www.symphonyreadswithanS.com. You can visit us on Facebook at Symphony Reads with an S, Twitter at Reads with an S Symphony. You can also send us an email, symphonyreads with an S at gmail.com. It's been a rough week. I won't even lie. The last couple of days has been really, really rough. And as usual, I always contemplate, do I want to do a video when I'm just really down and out myself right now? And I said, you know what? I'm going to do the video anyway. Because this is what it is about. I can't always show you the positive, I feel like I know everything, part. But it's a down part too, when I'm just not feeling it or I have to try to press my way through. So when we have things and we're just not feeling it, we're not feeling well, we have to just press our way through that, press our way through. And I'm starting to become more and more comfortable with sharing that side of myself. It's almost like sharing the side of yourself when you wake up in the morning, there's no makeup on, it's just, that's what you look like type thing. So it's just a pressure way through day. And that brings me to a point, I guess. I'm sorry, my eye be itching. And it brings me to a point that I would just kind of like to discuss. There is a misconception that when you start to tell your story, which is a testimony about what you've gone through, what you're going through, and people think, oh, that person got their stuff together. And that's not always true. I can tell you where I've been to only let you know where I'm at right now. That doesn't mean I'm still not going through. And it doesn't mean that I'm still not dealing with the residual of what I've been through. You understand what I'm saying? And that's not living in the past. It's being very much present. And when we share our stories, stop putting it on a pedestal where you think, oh, well, why are they still suffering with this? Or why are they still going through that? Why are they even talking to me? If they still going through the same thing. When you tell a story about yourself, it opens you up to the positive and it also opens you up to the negative. But I feel as though when you share your story, it no longer, as weird as this sounds, it no longer becomes about you, the one telling the story, but about everyone else who listens to the story. My belief is when you get to a point where you can start to talk about your story, your testimony, what you've been through, where you presently are, one, you can feel like you're in a safer place to do that, to divulge that type of information. Two, you're in a place where you're maybe asking and calling out for help because you realize you just can't do it on your own. And you just can't do it on your own. And three, I believe it's the realization that there is somebody else out there that can benefit from this testimony because they find themselves in a very similar situation right now. And that's why I say when you start telling your testimony, it no longer becomes about you, even though everything happened to you. And that's not to say that nothing happened to you, but it becomes about the other people. It becomes about the outreach to the people who are suffering in that way right now, right this minute. If you've been through something and you can talk about it, you're no longer in that state. You're just in a more growing different state. You know what I'm saying? And that's not to get it, confused. And so, and I say that because I can sit here and talk all day long about what I've been through, and there's nothing wrong with that. And sometimes somebody will come to me or they'll email and say, "Oh my gosh, it's like you understood me. It was like you were in my head at that particular point in time." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" I'm like, I'm just blessed that it blessed you and gave you the strength or whatever it did for you to motivate you to whatever. Because one thing about the testimony is to allow people not to feel alone. And not every time you give your testimony, in the audience are going to be people who listen to that testimony. That doesn't mean that your testimony isn't valid. It just means that the people maybe at the time are not there. They're somewhere else. But in you still telling that testimony, which is still very much valid, the person who's listening may go back and tell their friend or a family member, "Look, I was in this seminar or this training, and this lady got up or this man got up and started talking about their testimony. And I mean, it was good. It wasn't for me, but it was some really good information." And then that person, they tell them, "Well, what kind of information were they giving you? Or what were they saying?" And they start to talk about it. And you know what? That very message was for that person. Now that person is saying, "Oh, well, where were they at when they talked? Oh, do they have an address? Did they give out any information how, we can hear from them, talk to them, or whatever?" So you just never know who's telling because they witnessed you talking about your testimony. So it's very much important to not feel like you don't have anything to say. This is what I believe. This is what I understand. And this is what I know. I know that every single person on this earth has a testimony. I know that the people who have died before us have had a testimony. Every last person, if you blink your eye, if you breathe in the breath, if you can hear whatever the issues are, you have a testimony. That is what I know. I understand that although everyone has a testimony, not everybody is in that place as of yet to feel comfortable to tell their testimony. That's what I understand. And what I believe is that my belief is that I would hope that people get to the place where they come out their comfort zone and come out the idea that nobody cares or it's not valid or nobody understands where I'm at, and get the strength up to tell their testimony. That's what I believe. I know everyone has a story. I understand why everyone will not share their story, but I believe that everyone at some point will or should. Those are the three things that I absolutely know, that I understand, and what I believe. It's just important because when I tell my story, it's not for me. It is not for me. It is for somebody else, and that's it's not for me. Because I'll have that person that says, and I mean, even when I hear other people's testimony, and sometimes it's like they're in my head, they understand me, and it's like, really? Oh my goodness. It's like, because they say those things that maybe I've thought of, but I was too afraid to say it out loud because I didn't want nobody to think, the wrong thoughts about me. And I've learned that you can be in a community. This is why it's so important to talk about and say your testimony. You can be in a realm of people that don't understand what you're going through. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't sympathize with what you're going through, But because they don't understand it, it's not something they've been through, they cannot help you through the ordeal. They sympathize because they wish you didn't have to go through it, and they wish they had more of the skill set, mindset to really help you with your problem or where you are right now. So when you're in a community like that, and it's not that they did anything wrong, it's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's just that sometimes you're in a community of friends, family, because they've never personally dealt with it. If you open up and start talking to them, honestly, they have no idea how to help you. They have no idea. They're afraid, to say, I really just don't know how to help you because I don't have that problem. I don't understand that. You get where I'm coming from? So if you start to tell your testimony, the people who are in that pool of people, and they hear you, man, you're going to make their day. You're going to absolutely make their day. I remember, like I said, before I really started talking publicly about anything that has gone on in my life, dealing with the depression, dealing with the bipolar, dealing with, the self-harm and all of these things, I had a group of friends, and I didn't really talk to all of them, but, I kind of opened up to one, and she was a good friend. She didn't look at me like, oh my gosh, okay, maybe you need to be locked up in a room. She wasn't like that. But when I would kind of talk to her about it, she didn't understand it. And she told me one day, you know what? I sympathize with you, Janine, because I'm sorry that you're going through this, but I have no words of wisdom. I don't know what to tell you. Really. I don't even know how to help you. I sympathize with you, but I really don't know how to help you. And the only reason I don't know how to help you is because I'm not there. I don't have these type of issues. So what that does is, she's a good friend and always will be a good friend. And she helps me out the best way she knows how. But I would still feel isolated and just like I'm alone. And I would feel like some type of freak show because it seemed like nobody around me was going through what I was going through or had been through what I was going through. And that made me very sad. And again, nothing they did wrong, nothing I'm doing wrong. It's just that's the situation, and I'm feeling sad because I'm like, okay, I just feel like I'm by myself. I'm just in this by myself. I got to figure it all out by myself. And one day, opening it up to the person who I didn't even know that they were having these type of issues myself. Opening up to them, talking to them, and it's like they started telling, kind of started opening up about them, and it's like we looking at each other like, okay, you understand me and I understand you, and this is what makes it important to tell that, because now if you telling the person who feels like they're alone and nobody gets it, nobody understands, and you start talking out and that person hears you, they now have a light bulb that goes off in their head. I'm no longer alone. There's actually someone out there who understands and gets me. That gives them back the hope. That gives them back the hope that they can make it through, that they will be all right, that this is just a momentary thing. And when I say momentary, is you don't have to suffer through it, do it all by yourself. It's momentary because if you see that this person can still be here with the thought patterns and everything that we go through, that there is hope for me. That's what makes it so important. You're giving somebody else back their hope. Because when we start feeling like these things, we lose hope. We lose hope. We will lose hope. I remember just losing hope and just saying, dang, why this gotta be me? Nobody understands me. Nobody gets me. I mean, I just feel more isolated and more by myself than ever before. And because I heard somebody else who had the same thing, I joined I went out, I walked, and I was in a community of people who just understood. They didn't say, we all shared our stories. Like, oh my goodness, I don't feel like this little freak show anymore. I don't feel like that the way I'm feeling isn't somehow validated. Because if you're around people who just don't understand, and that, again, it's nothing they did, and it's nothing you're doing wrong. It's just the fact they're not going through it, so they don't understand where you coming from. They wish they understood. They hope they can understand, but they have no basis to really understand where you're coming from. And when you talk about your testimony, it truly gives somebody else hope. It gives somebody else hope. It allows someone else to know that they're not alone, that there is someone else, even if it's just that one person who gets it. You're giving somebody else back hope. And when they get and gain that hope, they will start to look out for a community or people who understand them. And they will start talking about their testimony within the community. And you'll be surprised how many is going to pop out the woodwork. I didn't know. Everybody sits in silence. Everybody in the whole neighborhood or in the classroom sits in silence because they are afraid that the person next to them or the person to the right, front, or behind them won't get it or would think of them as a freak show. But when you have that strength, when you get into that safe place where you start to understand it is okay. I'm in a place, I'm strong enough. I'm in a safer place where I can tell what has gone on and is going on with me. And when you do that, you will learn that the people in the room might not be the person beside you to the left or to the right, but it'll definitely be the person that was in the corner. I didn't know. I'm not by myself. Somebody actually gets it because you had the strength. In your weakness, you had the strength to say something. And that gave somebody else back their hope. So if anything I've said today, I'm just having a bad day and I'm truly pushing myself through this. But when you share your testimony, you are giving somebody else back their hope. You are validating somebody else to think that they are not absolutely a freak show, crazy, whatever you want to call it. You have now allowed somebody out there to understand and realize they're not alone. They're not crazy. There is not, they're not making this stuff up in their head just to be making it up in their head. So it's very important to give your testimony. Know that everybody has a story. Everybody. When you start telling your story, it is your testimony. For sure. Everybody. Know that. Every single person on this earth has a story testimony. Understand that although everybody has a testimony, has a story, understand that they are not in that place yet to want to tell or give that story or that testimony. They haven't found that safe place or feel like they have to be stronger to do that. And 3, believe, hope that they will have that strength to someday, some point in time, to tell that testimony. Because when they tell their testimony, when you tell your testimony, you are helping somebody else. You are bringing hope back to that person. You are allowing that person to know that they are not the only one and they are not a freak show and they are not crazy. So, that's just the long and short of it. I hope this has blessed you. I hope that this has, given you some insight to why we should tell our story. And visit us on www.symphonyreadswithans.com, on Facebook at Symphony Reads with an S, Twitter at Reads with an S Symphony. Send us an email. I'm about to say my other email. symphonyreadswithanas@gmail.com. Be blessed, and I hope to see you next week. Bye-bye.